what is authenticity in this space where you're able to make these amazing ripple effects more than the buzzword.
Belonging to yourself. And it's not a luxury to be authentic and to belong to yourself. It's needed to create a better world. And authenticity to me is alignment. It's alignment in with your values. And it doesn't mean like authenticity is look at me, who I am. I'm going to wear a swimsuit in my business meeting because, I love swimming and I'm being authentic. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not the kind of authenticity, because each point, all of us, when we're navigating the world, we are showing up depending on the context. If you value, I don't know, your relationship and the care for the people in your room, maybe you're going to consider like, what would be a way for me to show up that could meet my need for care and my need to take care of my relationships.
So we see both sides of the coin. We look at the context and understanding that if the context isn't in alignment with you, you don't need to show up there. But also when it is in alignment with you, you're going to show up there with a more understanding and flexibility that honors yourself and those you care about. If you've ever thought, holy crap, I'm terrified to do this thing. I mustn't be fit for this. I'm going to let somebody else do that. I'm just going to let them do their thing. If you've ever been in that space, then this is the conversation you want to join, because this is the space where you get to say that, but also recognize the fact that this might be your opportunity to shine, not just outwardly, not just on stages, but within yourself, finding connection and belonging with who you are, no matter what space you're occupying. And to have that conversation, I have Jess here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Thank you for having me. It's very nerve-wracking and exciting to be here.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. You have a wealth of knowledge to share with the world. Please let the people know, what is it exactly that you do and why does it matter?
I do kimchi. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I do, but it's super good. Why it matters. So what I do, I call myself a leadership coach for multicultural professionals, people who actually have built impressive, international lives, but they still don't quite feel at home anywhere. Those people, Shauna, that on paper super successful, they've done everything, checked, the education, the job title, the promotions, but inside they're actually exhausted, unsure what they really want to do next, and maybe don't want to play the corporate game really anymore if they're on corporate, as an example. And so my work helps them to slow down that constant adapting, reconnecting, and reconnect with their own clarity and confidence, to actually start living their life in a way that actually feels like theirs. I coming from a place also where I believe that leadership starts with self-leadership. It's not about titles. It's not about being given the authority. It's about the way you show up is going to naturally influence the people around you. And I don't think a lot of us realize that we are already leaders in some ways, in some capacities. And so you need to be aware how you are actually impacting people. So the question is not, do I want to be a leader? Oh, I'm not a leader. You actually already are in some ways or another. And my invitation is to think about how you actually want to be a leader. And that's, I think, why I'm really passionate about this job, and how I believe we need to belong to ourselves so we can actually lead differently. And therefore, the tagline I love to use is to lead as you are.
Yes. And I think this is so powerful because we forget, right? We forget that we're in charge. We get to choose. We are indeed the leaders of our own lives. And the whole idea of chasing these titles, chasing these accreditations, this is very much externally influenced oftentimes, right? This is a pursuit of external validation. And what you're telling me is that we can lead as we are, for who we are in alignment with self. And even if we don't see ourselves as a leader right now, the challenge, as you say, is to figure out in what capacity are we indeed already leading, and how can we take that and let it blossom into a more fuller sense of self. That's outstanding. And it doesn't come without its challenges, as I know that you know yourself. So tell me a little bit about how you got to this space, because I know that your story is rich. I know that there are a lot of different layers involved, and that you feel deeply for these people because you were them.
Yeah, a part of it for sure. Yeah. Um, that is, yeah, my story. What I want to share, where do I start? So I think there's a few different things that inspired not only my decision to become a coach, but also my decision to want to reframe this whole idea of leadership. And I'm not, inventing anything here. Um, but I found that for myself, after years of over adapting, um, there's a few different things. First, I grew up, the way I like to call it, like in a mini culture within a culture. At home, we were signing more or less because both my parents are deaf. I am what you can call a CODA, CODA, a child of deaf adult. I don't know if anybody has watched, there's actually a movie inspired from a French movie, actually. The American movie is called literally CODA.
I've heard of it, actually. I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it.
Oh, I invite you to see it. It's nice.
You know where it's streaming?
Oh yeah,
Is it streaming like on Netflix or anywhere? Do you know?
no idea.
Oh, it's like a
No
blockbuster special. Gotta seek it out and see where you can find it. Okay,
idea.
well, that's fair. I'm here for that. That's only part of the story, though. I can
No,
hear
not
it.
only, but this is this idea of like I already grew up, I think, being aware of there are other cultures out there, and at home, I was able to kind of see differently, and I was trying to always um, adapt to and understand my parents' world. Um, and then later, I was an expat. I lived for 10 years in Canada, and before that in Ireland, and and that was my choice actually this time. And I improved my English, and I at first it was just an exploration, oh, to open my horizons, and I stayed 10 years. But I think after some years while living abroad, I actually hit a wall, like full in the face. One morning, I just could not get up. And I didn't even necessarily had fancy stuff, but I had a secure job. I had lovely coworkers. I had friends. I even had someone I was falling in love with who is now my husband. And I could not get out of bed. And I just like, what's wrong with me? What the heck is wrong with me? I just couldn't make sense of it all. And I was actually eventually diagnosed with mild depression. And I think this is when I realized that I've been living on autopilot and
Mm,
that achieving goals, checking boxes without a real sense of purpose, without a real sense of who is Jess and what does she wants, those things didn't, everything felt empty. Like you're lost in the wood in some kind of like fog, and this whole time you thought that it was great, and then you realize suddenly you kind of like, I'm in the fog, didn't
mm,
even realize that. And for me that was a turning point. I actually changed my career after that. That's when I become a coach. And I that's what I want. I think I want to inspire others to inspire other. Um, I'm coaching, working with so many smart people, and I want to work with people smarter than me. And often people like that, they have either maybe some low self-esteem, very hard on themselves, super hardly critical to themselves, and it breaks my heart. And I'm like, you're so amazing, and I wish, like, if you stepped into your own, inner leader, you would relax and breathe. And then when we relax and breathe, I mean, this is, I'm taking like science shortcut here, but this is what we know in neuroscience. Like, when we are relaxed, the nervous system is going to be contagious to other people as well.
Yeah.
And so that's also a reality that came recently, in the way I frame it, like authenticity. Because lead as you are, this idea of leading as you are, to me, is all about, authenticity. But what does that mean? Authenticity is kind of thrown around a lot, right?
Oh yeah, huge buzzword. And listen, it's one of my favorite buzzwords too. So I'm
Yeah.
here for it. But you've got this you've got a really interesting perspective on this, because what you've just described to me is this idea of, well, I love your science shortcut. This idea of really just jumping from a sense of belonging within yourself is that nervous system chill pill, so that you can just breathe and be. And when you are that, when you embody that, when you really step into that, you're able to make aligned choices for yourself, which ripple out to others and become magnetic. I love how you described that. But now we're looking at this also in the space of, hey, guess what? That belonging to self, that is your ability to be authentic.
Yes, exactly.
So what is authenticity in this space where you're able to make these amazing ripple effects more than the buzzword? What is authenticity to you, Jess?
Yeah, that's exactly what you said is, belonging to yourself. And it's not a luxury, to be authentic and to belong to yourself. It's needed to create a better world, I believe. And authenticity, to me, is alignment. It's alignment in with your values. And it doesn't mean like authenticity is, look at me, who I am. I'm gonna wear a swimsuit in my business meeting because I love swimming and I'm being authentic. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not the kind of authenticity. Because at each point, um, all of us, when we're navigating the world, we are showing up depending on the context,
Right.
right? And the context has importance. You don't want to show up with your little bikini in a boardroom.
I mean,
But
it
why
would be an
not?
interesting show, but
But yeah, but why not? Because in a way, if we unpack that, I'm like, you think that this is being authentic, and I'm exaggerating to kind of for a point. Um, But at that moment, what is the value that you're bringing to the table? What is the value that you're aligning yourself with?
right.
And if at that moment, this is at totally, I don't know, what would be the kind of value behind you wanting to do that. Um, but if you value, I don't know, your relationship and the care for the people in your room, maybe you're going to consider like, what would be a way for me to show up that could meet my need for care and my need to take care of my relationships.
Right. So we see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
We look at the context and understanding that if the context isn't in alignment with you, you don't need to show up there. But also when it is in alignment with you, you're going to show up there with a more understanding and flexibility that honors yourself and those you care about.
I think so, and that's just maybe one way. I also think that, it's being aware, and this difference between fitting in and belonging, right? I try to fit in so hard growing up with a group of friends because I grew up in a cul-de-sac, and I knew deep down in my guts that they were not my people ever.
Mm.
And for 20 years, I've really tried very hard. And what I'm thinking about, what would I have done differently if I knew what I know now? I think is that, first of all, I would have said no to go to parties more often. But
Mm.
if I had said yes, I think I would have practiced this awareness of like, what do I need, um, to take care of myself, to show up in a space that feels okay for me, that I'm willing to show. And that for me, that is authenticity. You know,
Absolutely.
it's like brutal honesty when people say, well, I'm brutal, honesty, that's my value, so I'm going to tell people just, that's not exactly what we're talking about here, right?
Actually, there's a meme that goes around about being brutally honest, and
Oh yeah.
there's a line that you can cross between being brutally honest and being ignorant and lacking tact, right? And I think that's what you're talking about, is just not crossing that line while remaining honest and true to yourself. But we're not going to cross that line where we become exaggerated versions of ourselves, which is almost the opposite of what you're describing with this chameleonism, this idea of, oh, I need to fit in. You kind of wind up taking the complete opposite, and you're like, I need to stand out, which is almost, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like it's almost rooted in the same space of wanting to fit in
Yeah.
in a different capacity, people pleasing.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, or attracting attention
Yeah.
for the sake of rebellious. And is it going to serve you? I mean, I think we all need to go through phases like that. You know, you need to experience some extremes sometimes,
That's
within
right.
your values,
Right.
to find the resonance and to find this idea of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the idea of to be aware of how much um, I want, because we are social animals as well. And I think sometimes we tend to forget that as well. So by me taking care of myself and my boundaries, I'm also showing up authentically. For me,
Yeah.
that's part also of being authentic. Um, and I'm hoping with the work I do to have conversation with people to help them use their own words, to use their own, to get clear around what actually matters to them and what concretely does that mean. Because
I
again, for me, what's important is, that's one of the things I love about coaching, is we are talking about concrete stuff here, something you can, taste. Is it spicy, not spicy? Is it something that, ooh, that gives me goosebump or not? um that's, I think we get disconnected. Like you mentioned a word as well, like embodiment. That's another huge piece as well, like embodiment, and how to embody leadership, how to embody confidence. All of those concepts, I'm not sure, and me included. And sometimes I'm like, I spent, I think, half of my life saying, I'm not confident, I'm not confident, I'm not confident. And I had an ex-boyfriend one time challenge me and said, I'm surprised you're saying that. You seem quite confident. I was like, what? But this scenario, this story I was telling myself, because I was trying to fit it so hard that
Yes.
every time I tried, I got crushed because I did
Mhm.
something that was not okay for me. And I compromised myself, compromised myself, compromised myself. Therefore, I kind of killed my self-esteem somehow.
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
a part of it. That's not all the story, but I think that's
No.
how I was to make the link in the spider web of my life. And I think we all have that a bit, like this idea of spider web, and kind of like, you tease a little string and you're like, oh, what's happening over there? And that's also another thing I think, where in this idea of busyness of life, I'm shifting a little bit as well, like this busyness, and to, like, what's happening in the back? What's
Right.
going on there? Because you're also on autopilot, right?
Yeah, right. And then you're being reactive. I think what, if I can summarize a little bit, is just this idea that we are multi-dimensional human beings. We have so many different parts of ourselves, both within and around ourselves, that we need to kind of play with. This web that you talk about, that influences us in different ways, and the stories we tell, in the way we actually show up, and whether or not it's in alignment, and to what degree it's in alignment, whether we're going way one side or way the other, trying to figure out, where are these navigational buoys? How do we really step fully into ourselves? And we see this all the time when people are showing up, not just in life, but in business as well. If you're trying to show up online, if you're trying to do a podcast, how am I supposed to show up, right? How should I show up? And those pulls can be far more easily navigated when you have this sense of purpose, when you have this sense of belonging that starts from within.
Yeah.
And it just lets you navigate the world with so much more ease and self-compassion. One thing I wanted to talk about very briefly is just this idea that, because it's kind of the next step of, okay, how do I show up, whether it's in life, in business, marketing, etc., is just the idea that we still want to be confident. Like, there's a little thing inside of ourselves. I want to be confident and I want to show up as a leader in some capacity. Even if you don't consider yourself to be those things yet, you kind of have this thing that tells you want to. And it can be scary. So it's just this idea of like, how do we navigate that fear? How do we step into that courage in order to build the confidence, in order to really embrace the leadership that allows us to take, and this is another part of that tangible bit, that allows us to take action towards not just our goals, but I think you said at the beginning, just making the world a better place.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Because it's truly, I navigate that space in theory, but well, in practice, but it's the theory, it's that thinking that you help people through. So how do we navigate that courage?
That courage or that confidence?
Well,
Both.
I guess both,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, because I do believe courage builds confidence, and they're kind of super intertwined. They're besties a little bit.
Wonderful. I love it.
I think it's often in a lot of ways when we talk, I am not confident or I have anxiety. That sounds
Mm.
like big kick-ass monsters. And it's really scary. I think that's what's scary. Um, and I think stepping back a little bit to be like, okay, first of all, what do you mean exactly by confident? Like ever? You're not feeling confident to brush your teeth?
I
So
like that.
there's also a vocabulary around. All right, first of all, let's break it down. Like when you say I am not something, it's like suddenly your whole identity is being shadowed by this belief, and you're completely being absorbed by that massive monster. So that's one thing I think that we need to realize in how we speak, to separate yourself from, you are not your confidence. Right, this is one thing. I think the other thing is in the relation with courage and confidence is maybe tiny steps, builds, tiny actions, I think, and in a specific area. Because again, once you're going to realize, it's not that you don't have confidence, it's like maybe some certain things you like, maybe experience, you
Mhm.
like preparation, you like the proof that you have the ability to do something. And that's what we're looking for with confidence. And so this is what we're looking for often. So this idea of like stepping back and say, okay, when I say, I need to build my confidence, for what, where, and then once you know a little bit more about what exactly you're looking for, you can break it down and say, what do I need to actually maybe, like, I'm very nervous to be on podcasts, and I'm not feeling confident at all because I don't have like done that much. But I'm confident on the fact that I am a blah blah blah. I talk. Uh, I'm confident in our relationship because I know you. I can find other ways I'm confident, and then bring that to the table to allow me some foundation. And then the courage. The courage is kind of like this. I'm not talking about like, and I know you like Harry Potter. I'm not talking about the big, magic, courage. And even
This-
himself, even Harry says, I'm not a courageous person. I'm freaking out all the time. So it's this idea of like, taking this idea of a breath. I am freaking out. Why? Because it's fucking hard. Self-compassion. It is hard right now. I am doing something outside of my skin that I've never done before. Of course I'm scared. That's what self-compassion is as well. Of course I'm scared. What's important to me right now? Values. So why am I here then?
Mhm.
And then attaching yourself to that. That's why like purpose is important. But why am I here? And it's something I told you recently. If you die tomorrow, if I die tomorrow, it's something when I feel very, very low. It helps me sometimes. I might be a bit dark, but for me, I think about death all the time. But if I die tomorrow, what would I regret the most? To not have tried? I want to have tried. And I think when you when you frame it this idea of like, I'm just gonna try, I'm not gonna combat this big monster. I'm just gonna try to prove to myself that I can do this thing. And then you're gonna get the dopamine that's gonna prove you that, oh, I can do this.
I didn't
Okay,
die.
I can do
This
this.
is this is classic. This is like the I think it's the Hangover movie when the guy says, "But did you die?" Like, no, you didn't. So let's move forward. No, I love that. And everything you're saying, if anybody hasn't caught on yet, because you know how much of a psych geek I am, everything that Jess is saying is rooted in neuroscience. We're talking about rejigging these neural pathways. We're talking about real hard science that allows you to step more fully into the wholeness of self that radiates impact in more ways than you could ever imagine. Like this is big stuff that comes from literal neurons. Okay. So with that, we can, and this is the thing, as you know, brain science, it can get big really fast. So instead of completely blowing your mind with the neuroscience of why we're talking about all this stuff, I'm going to ask you, Jess, if there's something that we can give to the people who have joined us today on this conversation, some sort of tidbit, some sort of little action push that will allow them to take that next step. If there's something you can share with them today, I'd really like to invite you to share that. Now, I know that's a big ask, so I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. And in that time, I want to invite everybody to subscribe. Why? Because we have conversations like this every single week. We are diving into what does it mean to not only show up in the big M marketing space, but also in the behind the scenes marketing to yourself space, because we are all here to make the world a better place. And I strongly believe that. And it really does start from within. And that's Jess's wheelhouse. So with that, I'm going to take a back seat, and Jess, please tell the people what they need to hear.
What you need to hear. I don't think you need to hear. I think you need to feel it. So if you just really right now feel your feet in the ground, feel your feet on the ground, balance it a little bit more on the on your toes in the front and the back. Take a big inhale and an exhale. And peel the layers to steal the words of a very wise man, Shrek. Peel the layers of the onion. Go back to your core and just ask yourself, what's important to me right now? Is it important to take the remote control and, I don't know, numb for a little bit? Okay, numb yourself. That's okay sometimes. Recenter, feet on the ground, breathe. What's important to me right now? Well, I'm very scared about this presentation thing. I know it's going to take me 10 hours to complete. Oh, it's too scary. Ooh. What would be one thing I can do? Open the document, look at it for 2 minutes and close it. That's it. That's you rewarding, sending you the dopamine reward system. You did something that you know was achievable and you did it. Break it down. Feet on the ground. Breathe in and exhale. Go back home. Thank you so much, Shauna, for having me.
back. Jess, can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Okay.
Are you having the connection
I'll
issue?
help us with this a little bit.
Ooh, yeah. You're having some connection issues? Oh, I'm saying you would. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, something's happening. Hold on, something's happening with my internet, and I don't know why it's doing this. This is not common, but
Yeah.
Elma will be able to bridge this gap, so don't worry.
Okay. I don't think I got the CTA yet. I wasn't sure if I should do it or you do it. I forgot.
It's okay. You're doing. Okay, awesome. There, we should be okay. So the last thing that I heard, was what did I hear? It was
I hope you
about
go back home because I finished with that. Go back home.
I don't think I got that far, but let's see if we can just go. I know, right? So I know as soon as I saw it, this little thing popped up, it was yellow and it was saying something like it said something like your connection is unstable. I was like, why? Like I internally, my face was like, excuse you. I'm gonna fight you right now. Like, do not do this to me. But now we should be fully going. But if we just take a minute, I'm like embracing this whole thing. I was doing it anyways as you were walking through. So I think maybe if we just start by let's take a breath. I'm gonna have you take a breath and then maybe go into just the last little segment. Obviously, you don't need to completely reiterate what you said, but just the last little segment from talking about looking at the project, or it was like something about 10 pages was what I heard last. It may have recorded beyond that, and we'll let Elma sort that out. But if we start with a breath, she'll be able to piece it together really nicely and then go into whatever you said after the whole. Maybe we just start by looking at the project. Okay. And then you just keep going. And then you finish it off and do your CTA and we'll close off. Okay.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
You're good. All right. Just a
Okay.
deep breath.
Feel your feet on the ground or feel anything that touches a surface. If you're seated, feel your bum. Stand slightly taller when you inhale and then exhale through your mouth. And think of maybe this project or this thing that scares you. And stay with it. It is normal to be scared. Absolutely. And that's okay. That's part of the you being human. Gratulation for being human. Open a little thing. Open the document. Open the project. Open your notebook. Read one thing, one sentence, close it, and celebrate. Building extremely small actions that you know you can do, you can cheat your brain in getting the reward it needs. And the more you do that, the more you're going to be able to build the confidence that you think you need. But I believe that you already have it. So go back home in here. And I think that if that really resonates with you, I would love to hear your story. And I believe the QR code would lead you to my LinkedIn page. You can find me there. I also have a newsletter if you want to hear some funny tidbits, neuroscience stuff. I'm not an expert. I'm just super passionate. I love brain stuff and the body stuff. So join me in the conversation.
I love it. Oh my goodness. And honestly, it's something that I definitely needed to do, is to just ground myself for a minute and remind myself that I don't have to be a cake. I'm allowed to be an onion. Like, it's okay. That was probably, I think you're absolutely on point. Mike Myers, Shrek, just, it's okay. Like, be yourself, be who you are, and come back home by taking a minute to realign yourself with your purpose. If you don't know what your purpose is, if you're sitting here going, I've done all the things, I've checked all the boxes, I've done what they said I was supposed to be doing, and you're still going, I don't quite fit. I'm lost in this fog of a forest that seems to be filled with hidden mirrors, right? Smoke and mirrors. That's the reality we've been fed. You want to actually have a reality that feels as grounded as the practice that Jess just came through with us, then you definitely want to connect with Jess. You definitely want to read her newsletter and reach out. There's so much more to this process than we were able to actually touch on today. I know that. And I'm not even the expert that Jess says she isn't. I know that.
And there's a teaser. I am launching my Lead As You Are, right, journey program for people who actually want to say, hey, hold on, I want to do some deep transformational go back home work, and I want to create a community when we can all do that together, because I know how hard it's been for me and it was very lonely. And so I want to invite people who want to belong to themselves, to self-lead, so they can lead in a way that feels that they're contributing to this world that needs some kindness and compassion and beauty.
That is a really great. I'm so grateful that you said that, because this is a great opportunity. So for any of you who've joined this conversation and are thinking, man, I feel this deep in my bones and I want to take action, but how the heck do I start? Reach out to Jess, join the community, join the movement, make this world a little bit less shitty, if nothing else, right? Preferably, obviously, within this community, a lot better than any reality you could have ever imagined, just because you're able to really come true to yourself and be in a space that is warm, accepting, and ready to make whatever that thing is that lights you up, let it take shape by stepping into your authentic self. Now, I'm going to get off the soapbox and let you guys have a great rest of the day, but do not hesitate to reach out. Jess and I are both here. We're here grounded, as you just saw, ready to reply to whatever questions you might have. So thank you, Jess. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next in your adventure, and of course, joining the community too. We'll see you all later. Chat soon.